allow me to introduce the speakers of the first session today. And this is Maria and Mash. Maria is our director, health communities, to lead the health and fitness session. And Maria will introduce selected program leaders that will co-lead the session with her today. And also we'll be joined by Mash Mutang, who is our manager, healthy athletes in the region. Maria, you can take it up from here. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Charles, for that introduction. Thank you, Mary, for kicking us off today. And just to start, good morning, bonjour, bom dia, buenos dias a todos. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today to learn, to share about insights, experiences, best practices over the past year in our health and fitness work. As you know, the year 2020, and indeed even this current year, have been difficult and challenging beyond what we could have imagined. But at the same time, we have combated that with hope and perseverance. In our Special Olympics Africa family, you have been key in keeping that hope alive. A big challenge this past year has been in ensuring that our athletes have access to healthcare now more than ever, and that despite the restrictions and the lockdowns and the challenges with communications, that our Special Olympics family remain healthy, active, and fit. You have found the most creative and innovative ways of overcoming those challenges and in staying connected in order to continue promoting healthy lifestyles. Today, we'll have the opportunity to hear from 5 of our colleagues from across our region who will be telling us about their experience in hosting health and fitness initiatives. Initiatives that have helped to strengthen that hope in spite of the difficult circumstances of the past year. Before we get underway, I would like to ask you to please answer a couple of questions in a small, short poll that we have. These are anonymous answers. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just to hear from you from your own personal experience over the past year. The first question reads, have you personally participated in fitness activities, either Special Olympics sponsored or other, in the past year? The second question reads, have you personally participated in virtual or online Special Olympics health and or fitness activities in the past year? And we'll just keep this poll up for a few seconds as we see the responses streaming in. We just want to hear a bit from you, from your personal experience, what the past year has been like. So first, asking about whether you've been involved in any fitness activities in the past year, and secondly, if you have participated in any online health or fitness activities. And it looks like our responses are slowly finishing up. We got one last one. I think we can safely close the poll now. And this is really quite interesting, I think. 75% of you were involved and participated in fitness activities over the last year. And that could have been either through Special Olympics hosted activities or other, maybe it was through your gym or with a group of friends or your families. And that's really inspiring. That's really exciting to hear. On our second question, it's almost 50-50, right? 48% of you have said that you did participate in some online, either health or fitness, or maybe both, activities over the last year. And 53%, just over half, did not. And I think that goes, that speaks to some of the challenges that we will be talking about today, and maybe an opportunity to learn about some of the challenges and the way some programs have found a way of overcoming those challenges as they present their best practices. So as we close out this poll, and thank you to everyone for responding, I want to jump right into our session. I'm very happy to introduce today our presenters. The first segment of our session will focus on health best practices, and the second half will focus on fitness best practices. Here to speak with you about some health best practices are our friends Raja Si from ESSO Senegal, who will be speaking about organizing healthy athlete screenings during the pandemic, as well as advocacy on COVID vaccinations for our athletes. I'm happy to introduce Ansela Smith from ESSO South Africa, who will tell us about best practices in leading virtual family health forums. And happy to introduce Satyagan Choitun, joining us from ESSO Mauritius, who will tell us about training and activating health messengers during this period. Raja, the floor is yours. I will just mention that Raja will be presenting in French. So please, if you have not already, choose your language using the selector button under the interpretation button. You need to pick either English or French. Thank you.
Merci. Merci Maria. Bonjour à tous.
S'il vous plaît. Bonjour.
Avec plaisir.
Bonjour.
Merci. Merci beaucoup Maria. Donc, c'est avec plaisir que je vais présenter ce que le Special Olympics Sénégal a eu à réaliser au cours de l'année 2020 pour pouvoir maintenir les consultations médicales au profit de nos athlètes et ce que nous avons eu à mener comme plaidoyer pour que nos athlètes puissent être vaccinés. Next, please. Donc, on sait que l'année 2020 a été une année difficile. Donc, nous avons quand même tenu à maintenir nos activités. Alors, sur ces photos, vous voyez les activités de santé que nous avions menées en 2019 avec la densité humaine qu'il y avait lors de ces consultations médicales. Ici, ce sont des consultations médicales qui avaient eu lieu à Dakar et au sud du pays, donc dans la région de Ziguinchor. Next, please. Au cours de 2019, nous avons pu présenter, offrir 7 consultations médicales. Next, please. Next slide, please. Nous avons eu à présenter 7 consultations médicales avec, dans 6 sous-programmes auxquels nous avons offert 8 disciplines qui étaient le MedFest, le Special Smiles, le Health Promotion, le Strong Minds, le Healthy Rearing, le Opening Eyes. Alors ça, ce sont des disciplines officielles de Special Olympics au niveau international. Et nous, localement, le Sénégal a rajouté 2 autres disciplines qui sont les dépistages en cardiologie et les dépistages en gynécologie. Donc, ce sont ces 2 disciplines que nous offrons autant que possible à nos athlètes en complément des disciplines de Special Olympics. Ces disciplines ont été offertes à 973 athlètes qui, en 2019, ont donc reçu 3459 actes de consultation. Next, please. En 2020, vous savez que ça a été une année extrêmement difficile avec la pandémie qui s'est répandue dans le monde entier. Au Sénégal, dès le 14 mars 2020, next slide please. Dès le 14 mars 2020, le président de la République a pris des décisions pour arrêter toutes les activités et décidé d'un semi-confinement. Alors, nous avons bien entendu stoppé toutes nos activités à l'instar de toutes les autres organisations du pays. Cela a impacté nos athlètes et nous avons essayé de trouver une solution pour pouvoir continuer à leur offrir les consultations médicales. Ce que nous avons réussi à faire, puisque nous avons pu avoir 5 activités de consultation qui ont été déroulées dans 4 sous-programmes. La première consultation avait lieu au mois de janvier, donc avant le début de la pandémie, et celles de Dakar, Ziguinchor et Kolda n'ont eu lieu qu'au mois de novembre et de décembre. Donc, nous avons eu pratiquement 10 mois sans activité médicale. Donc, 6 disciplines ont été offertes au lieu de 8, avec une particularité, c'est que le Special Smiles n'a été offert que lors de la consultation du mois de janvier. Nous n'avons pas, parmi ces 6 disciplines, nous n'avons pas fait la cardiologie parce qu'on voulait éviter un contact trop important entre les participants et le corps médical. 645 athlètes ont pu être consultés, donc une baisse importante de presque 300 athlètes qui n'ont pas pu bénéficier des consultations comparé à 2019, où nous en avions plus de 900. Et uniquement 1985 actes de consultation ont été offerts à nos athlètes pour un chiffre en 2019 qui était de plus de 3400. Next slide, please. Donc, comment a-t-on réussi à faire ces consultations? Nous avons mis en place un protocole sanitaire très précis et très rigoureux. Et nous avons insisté auprès de tous les participants pour que ce protocole soit respecté. Le premier protocole est la réduction du nombre de participants. Comme vous l'avez vu dans les chiffres d'ailleurs. Auparavant, en 2019, on pouvait culminer sur Dakar à un nombre de 350 bénéficiaires des consultations médicales et sur Ziguinchor à un nombre de 280 participants. Donc, nous avons limité les participants à Ziguinchor à 200 et à Dakar, nous les avons limités entre 280 et 300. Nous avons réduit le nombre de disciplines médicales. Nous avons supprimé le Special Smiles qui n'a eu lieu qu'à Kaolack en janvier. Et pour les autres consultations, nous avons décidé de ne pas proposer le Special Smiles pour éviter justement des risques de contamination avec des soins dentaires. Nous avons renforcé le système de lavage des mains. Et ce que je tiens à préciser ici, c'est que ce système de lavage des mains a été dirigé par les athlètes qui ont eux-mêmes pris la décision d'en assurer donc le déroulement. Et ils l'ont fait de manière vraiment excellente en étant très rigoureux et très précis pour toute personne qui entrait dans le site d'entraînement. Nous avons mesuré la température à l'entrée avec un protocole qui permettait de mettre un peu à l'écart les personnes qui arrivaient et qui présentaient une température élevée. Nous avons distribué des masques à tous les participants avec des rappels systématiques qu'il était absolument nécessaire de garder son masque et de ne pas l'enlever. Des gels hydroalcooliques ont été également positionnés à tous les points, aussi bien remis aux médecins que dans les postes d'entrée et de sortie des différentes disciplines. Et nous avons également séparé les zones d'attente pour justement éviter la densité humaine et permettre aux participants d'être installés de manière aérée. Next slide, please. Nous avons également créé des zones d'entrée et des zones de sortie pour chacune des disciplines médicales, mais également pour l'accès au site de la consultation médicale. Pour la discipline particulière du Strong Minds, nous avons un peu changé nos habitudes et nous avons remis à chaque athlète bénéficiant de cette consultation médicale un tissu qui lui permettait de faire les étirements et nous avons évité les étirements, les activités qui mettaient en contact les athlètes avec les coachs. Donc, un protocole bien particulier justement pour éviter d'avoir trop de contacts. Un point particulier, c'est la consultation médicale de Dakar, qui se fait habituellement au stade Léopold Sédar Senghor avec, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, pratiquement 350 participants, athlètes qui bénéficient de la consultation. Nous avons décidé d'en créer 2 pôles dans le même site. Nous avons dupliqué toutes les consultations médicales. Donc, cela supposait également d'augmenter le nombre de médecins volontaires, d'augmenter le nombre de volontaires et d'augmenter le nombre de coachs qui étaient présents. Donc, c'était une réplique totalement exacte dans les 2 sites sur le stade Léopold Sédar Senghor. Donc, c'est ce que nous avons mis en place. Nous tenions vraiment à reprendre les consultations médicales parce qu'on s'est rendu compte que dans les zones éloignées et parfois même dans la banlieue de Dakar, certains athlètes n'ont accès aux médecins que grâce aux consultations médicales que Special Olympics Sénégal leur offre. Donc, il était pour nous primordial de continuer cette activité et de pouvoir avoir un aperçu de la situation de nos athlètes en cette période de pandémie où toutes les activités avaient été arrêtées, dont notamment les activités sportives. Donc, on a pu faire un screenshot à un moment précis et comparer leur état de santé à un instant T par rapport à l'année 2019. Et nous nous sommes rendus compte qu'il y avait beaucoup de prise de poids, qu'il y avait beaucoup de malnutrition. Et cette année, nous travaillons justement à corriger cela. Next slide, please. Alors, pour ce qui concerne la vaccination, la campagne de vaccination au Sénégal a démarré en février 2021. Et sur la liste des personnes prioritaires, les personnes ayant une déficience intellectuelle n'y figuraient pas. Donc, il y avait uniquement les personnes âgées et les personnes porteuses de comorbidités. Nous avons donc décidé de mener une campagne auprès du ministère de la Santé, à qui nous avons demandé une audience. Nous avons rencontré le directeur de la maladie en compagnie d'un de nos membres du conseil d'administration, le docteur Boubacar Signaté, qui est un médecin urgentiste. Et au cours de la réunion, nous avons avancé nos arguments qui ont été appuyés par docteur Signaté. Et je dois dire que l'administration du ministère de la Santé a été très réactive et a tout de suite accordé le fait que nos athlètes seraient rajoutés sur la liste des personnes prioritaires pour la vaccination. À ce jour, nous avons 32 athlètes qui ont été vaccinés, mais nous sommes confrontés à un problème qui est la réticence des familles. Donc, nous menons des campagnes de sensibilisation auprès des familles pour justement leur faire comprendre que la vaccination était nécessaire. Et dans cette campagne, les athlètes leaders sont en première ligne. Ils ont été les premiers à être vaccinés et nous les avons sensibilisés sur les messages qu'ils devaient porter auprès de leurs camarades athlètes, auprès des familles. Des séances également de sensibilisation des parents ont été menées par docteur Signaté, une session de questions ouvertes qui a permis aux familles donc de pouvoir poser leurs questions, de poser leurs inquiétudes, et docteur Signaté a pu y répondre. Donc aujourd'hui, nous continuons la sensibilisation pour augmenter le nombre de nos athlètes qui doivent être vaccinés, et ceci nous appuie vraiment dans cette campagne. Voilà ce que je voulais partager avec vous ce matin et je reste bien entendu disponible pour répondre à toutes vos questions. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Raja. Thank you for sharing. And Raja, thank you for offering to answer any questions. Anyone who might have questions as we view the presentations, please feel free to use the question and answer box, and we will have time set aside during our session today to ask the presenters any specific questions that you might have. So thank you very much. We will go on now to our next presenter, and that is Ansela, joining us from South Africa. Good morning, Ancila.
Morning, Maria. How are you?
Good, thank you. Please go right ahead.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to Special Olympics Africa for the Africa region for providing me this opportunity. As Maria mentioned, I am going to be just discussing our best practice in terms of our family health forums. There's already been a lot of discussion, obviously, on many of the challenges that were faced last year because of the pandemic. I think in South Africa specifically, we were very hard hit and went through quite an extensive lockdown period, as well as a lot of restrictions that were put in place. Obviously, this impacted our ability to do any in-person activities, and we had to look at other ways to conduct our family health forums and to reach out to our family health or our family members. The obvious solution for us was taking our family health forums online. And to enable us to do this, we had to really go through a number of steps that would allow us to do an effective and successful online family health forums. The first challenge for us, obviously, was that we would not be in a position to cover a number of topics as we normally do in our in-person family health forums. We would cover up to 6 or 7 topics during a forum. So we had to decide to, instead of doing one family health forum, we would actually conduct a series of family health forums, each with a different topic. And we restricted our topics to 1 or 2, depending on the complexity of the topic that we were addressing in each of those series of family health forums. The biggest challenge, obviously, for us as well was understanding the lack of access that the majority of our family members have to technology. And that is a big challenge, which I'm sure every single program in Africa is also undergoing, but something that we still haven't obviously dealt with effectively. But what we did decide to do is we would actually make our family health forums, our virtual online family health forums, we would make them national. In other words, encourage our family members nationally to participate in our family health forums. We also had to find a way of reaching our parents and promoting the family health forums in order to encourage participation. So personally, we decided that we would use our social media, obviously understanding that if people had access to social media, they would also probably have access to our family health forums. So we promoted it on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, and through our Twitter. We also used our WhatsApp groups to encourage parents to register for our family health forums. And we also sent emails through to our principals of our schools and our centers, providing all the details for registering for our family health forums, and asked them to pass them on to the family members at their schools. So in that way, we were able to reach a lot of our family members and get them to register for our family health forums. So moving on from that, I just wanted to talk about what worked for us in terms of the family health forums. I mean, the first thing that worked for us was obviously that we were able to open them up nationally, as opposed to doing smaller family health forums within a local district, which meant we had obviously more reach and reached out to new family members that we hadn't been able to see at our in-person family health forums before. The online registration portal, which Zoom offers, was also very useful for us, because the online registration portal is adaptable, so you can adjust the questions, which really helped us to capture a lot more detail from the family members that were registering. And it also gave us the option to ask them whether or not they needed data and to provide us with the necessary details that would allow us to provide them with data. So that was really also a very critical part of our getting our online participation, was actually offering to provide data for family members and for participants. I think that was critical because a lot of our family members are struggling because of COVID and don't have the means to buy data. So we really had to ensure that we gave that as an option to encourage participation.
Marcella, kindly
yes.
be slow.
Sure, I am slowing down, Charles. I think the biggest benefit for us as part of the Family Health Forums was by going online, we had much bigger access to potential speakers and presenters. That really was a huge benefit for us. We were able to access international speakers, which we obviously never been able to do before. We were also able to really reach out to high-level government officials who really would never have driven out to a local family health forum. And it also gave us access to a large number of experts that we wouldn't have been able to get to come to an in-person family health forum. That was an enormous benefit for us. We were able to have, as I said, international speakers, the director of basic education, psychologists, a large number of professionals which we've never been able to access before to come on board and present at our family health forums. We were also able to record the sessions, which we are going to be using going forward. We're going to be using those recordings to create materials for Special Olympics South Africa that we can share with our family members that weren't able to attend those sessions. So that is going to be able to be of benefit to our family members going forward, even if they weren't able to be on the calls. The other benefit of using the online platform Zoom, which we were using, was the other features which it enabled us to use. For instance, the polls, which you've been taking part in over the past 2 days. So it gives us the ability to do polls. We very successfully used breakaway rooms during a family and sibling workshop, which was something we wouldn't normally have access to if we had one room. So using some of those features that Zoom offers allows a lot more interaction in terms of the family health forums. And then also with the presenters being able to use, as you've seen here, video, PowerPoint. Sometimes that's not really possible when you're doing in-person family health forums in remote locations. So all of those definitely strengthened our family health forums and provided benefits to us as a program. There were, however, some challenges that we did experience, and it would be remiss of me not to actually point out some of the challenges. The first challenge was obviously the Zoom costs. You know, Zoom is very expensive. We spent in excess of 20,000 Rand last year on Zoom just to enable us to use all the features of Zoom that we felt necessary for not only the family health forums, but for all our online activities. The other really big challenge is the costs of data. I'm sure in the rest of Africa, you have the same challenges. Data is very expensive, and often the majority of the budget for a family health forum went towards data costs. So we as a program were forced to supplement eventually in some of the series. The other big challenge that we had was people registering and then not attending the actual family health forum. We've had situations where over 100 people have registered. We've provided data for over 100 people, and then only 50 actually pitched up or attended the session on the day. So what we've actually had to do is start a red list where we capture the details of people who've taken data and not attended, so that we cannot give them data for future sessions. I mean, unfortunately, there are just those people out there who see this as an opportunity to gain free data. So that is one of the challenges that we've experienced. Obviously, parents have struggled with signal, and in South Africa, we do struggle with load shedding. So oftentimes people were logging on and dropping off during the sessions. And then one of our biggest challenges, obviously, has been vernacular. We have 13 official languages in South Africa. So when we do a national call, we obviously do it in English. And so that does interfere with a large number of people's ability to understand what we're presenting. So that is a challenge that we still need to work around. Having said that and identified the challenges, we certainly felt that this was definitely a medium that we will continue to use as Special Olympics South Africa, even when we go back to in-person activities. We certainly see the benefits of using online presentation or using this medium for engaging people on a national level. We will move on to using Microsoft Teams, though, because we do believe that the costs for Zoom are huge. So for those programs, especially that can't afford Zoom, I would encourage you to look at Microsoft Teams, because it is free and it has a lot of the same features that Zoom has. But overall, as a program, we felt that this was an excellent way for us to stay in touch with our families during COVID, and going forward, we will definitely be using this medium. Thank you all so much. And I'm really available to answer any questions that you might have on that.
Thank you, Ansela. Thank you so much for all of that information, really helpful, rich information, and for your openness to answer any questions. So we've got our Q&A box open and available. If anyone has any questions for Ansela, please feel free to pop it in the Q&A box. We will be setting aside some time just after our next presenter. And I would like to take that opportunity to introduce our friend Satyagan, who is joining us from Mauritius and will be talking to us about best practices in training and activating our health messengers. Thank you, Satyagan.
Thank you, Maria. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great pleasure for me, on behalf of the Special Olympics Mauritius, to make a presentation of our best practices in health, with particular emphasis on training and activation of our health messengers. Next slide, please. To start with, let us see generally, why is health important? Why health? First and foremost, we cannot deny the fact that health has a substantial impact.
Satyagan, can you kindly just move closer to your microphone? You are a little faint. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, so I was saying that we cannot deny the fact that health has a substantial impact on the quality of life of people with intellectual disabilities. And secondly, it affects each Special Olympic athlete's ability to train and compete in sports effectively. Thirdly, athletes with intellectual disabilities have limited access to community health, and despite the severe need and higher health risks, people with intellectual disabilities are denied health services, or we can see that they have limited access to community health services. Next slide. Let us have a quick look at the Mauritian context. As you may be aware, Mauritius is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean with a population of 1.2 million people. Rodrigues is another small island with a population of only 35,000 people, which is also Port of Mauritius, and we have a sub-program in Rodrigues Island. Next, please. Let us now have a look at Special Olympics Mauritius health programs. At the level of Special Olympics Mauritius, the health programs are spread over 4 components, namely family health programs, second, fit family, third, healthy community, and fourth, healthy athletes screening. So family health forums provide a platform for parents and guest speakers to interact on health issues of their utmost interest. Secondly, the goal of Fit Family is to get healthy, feel healthy, stay active, have fun, and make a lifestyle change. Thirdly, Healthy Community project that we have, it charts a way to promote the well-being of people with intellectual disabilities, both in Mauritius and Rodrigues Island. And finally, our Healthy Athletes Screening are providing athletes with ongoing health screenings in the 4 following disciplines, namely health promotion, MedFest, Specialist Smiles, and Strong Minds. Next slide, please. Let me now give you an overview on activation of our health messengers. In order to create a more effective public health programs, people with intellectual disabilities must have leadership roles. And one of the roles could be the role of a health messenger. But we should know who is a health messenger. As you can see in the slide, a health messenger is a Special Olympics athlete who has been trained to serve as a health and wellness leader, educator, advocate, and role model within the Special Olympics community or the community at large. Our health messengers in the Special Olympics Mauritius is empowering athletes to develop healthy lifestyles, influence other athletes to lead healthier lives, and advocate within their communities for inclusion around health and wellness services. Next slide, please. Now let us see what are the roles of health messengers. At the level of Special Olympics Mauritius, health messengers are playing different roles. As you can see in the slide, health messengers are playing the roles of spokesperson, healthy athletes coordinator, healthy habits leader, and health and fitness leader. Next slide, please. Please have a look at this slide. Here you can see our athletes who serve as spokespersons can speak on behalf of people with intellectual disabilities about the health and wellness needs and barriers that they are facing. They attend meetings with health and fitness partners to speak and advocate on behalf of people with intellectual disabilities. So I think that all programs should give their athletes the opportunity so that they can become spokespersons. Next slide, please. This slide shows you an examples of healthy athletes coordinator. Within healthy athletes events that we organize, our health messengers lead and are available throughout healthy athletes screenings to guide athletes through the screenings, recruit athletes to come to the screenings, serve as a peer educator at health education stations, and assist with logistics of the screening. These pictures show how our athletes who are health messengers are involved in the smooth running of all our healthy athlete screening. Next slide, please. Now we can see health messengers in the role of a healthy habits leader. Healthy habits or health education stations at events led by health messengers. In Special Olympics Mauritius, our health messengers, as you can see in these pictures, are given the opportunities to design and implement the event and or stations as the pictures describe. Next, please. Next slide, please. I can say last but not the least, we also have health messengers in the role of health and fitness leader. Our health messengers assume the role of health and fitness leader, and they are committed to promoting healthier lifestyles for athletes, unified partners, coaches, and families through our activities. Here you can see in these pictures that we have our athletes. They are leading fitness sessions, and they are even leading coaches training. So I think that all programs should give these opportunities to our athletes, because we have really many athletes who can serve with these roles in the Special Olympics. Next slide, please. But before providing the specific roles to Special Olympics athletes, first, as you can see in the slide, training is very important. It is important for them to be trained as health messengers so that they can serve as a health and wellness leader. It is also important to include potential health messengers in every stage of the planning process. The second point is involving the Athlete Input Council. Here I would suggest programs to consider bringing together an Athlete Input Council so that they can gather input from all the athletes. This is what Special Olympics Mauritius is doing. Some years back, it set up its Athlete Input Council, and first, it trained the president as a health messenger first, and then the training followed, where we train other health messengers who are in the board. The third point is also important while determining the relevant roles of the health messenger so that the right training is mounted. So the roles are very important. Then you can decide about which kind of training to be mounted. The last point, training should be ongoing. We cannot do one training and then we forget the athletes, because this will not be a good idea to give the athletes training without any follow-up, without giving them any opportunity. So the relevant trainings will determine the type of health messages they will provide to their peers. We make sure to give our health messengers the health information they need, tips on how to communicate that information, and so on. So during the pandemic, the Athlete Input Council is playing a great role by mobilizing all the athletes through the web, through internet, through WhatsApp, and even through by utilizing our clinical directors who mount small videos which they put on Facebook just to sensitize athletes and parents. We even had several Zoom meetings hosted by the Athlete Input Council, where they invited our clinical directors to talk about what to do during the pandemic, how to remain fit during the pandemic, and what are the precautions that we should take not to be affected by the pandemic. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And I think that these points have been maybe very useful to you. And I also see this opportunity to thank Special Olympics for giving Special Olympics Mauritius this opportunity. Thank you very much once again. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Satyagan. Thank you so much. We will go into our question and answer panel at this point. So for Ansela, Raja, Satyagan, if you're able to put on your videos, please feel free to do so. Mash will be sharing the questions that have been posed in our Q&A box.
Thank you so much to Raja, Ansela, and Saitagan for the wonderful presentations. We have the first question that is going to Raja. It is from Fato Seka. Thank you, Raja, for insightful presentation. My concern is, to what extent are you trying to reach our athletes in the rural areas?
Merci beaucoup, Fatou. Je voudrais juste m'assurer d'abord que si Fatou est en Gambie, je crois qu'elle est en Gambie, mais je voudrais avoir la certitude pour pouvoir donner une réponse plus précise. Donc, si effectivement on parle de la Gambie, qui est un État proche du Sénégal, on a pratiquement les mêmes populations. Peut-être la seule différence que nous avons, c'est que le Sénégal est un peu plus grand que la Gambie, mais nous avons les mêmes habitudes. Donc, ici au Sénégal, nous ne sommes pas dans les villages, nous sommes dans les villes. Et pour toucher de nouveaux athlètes, nous faisons ce que nous appelons des visites à domicile. C'est-à-dire que nous avons des équipes de jeunes volontaires qui se déplacent dans les villes, dans les quartiers, avec l'appui des chefs de quartier, l'appui des chefs religieux. Nous essayons de trouver les familles où il y a une personne ayant une déficience intellectuelle. Pour ce qui concerne de manière plus précise les consultations médicales, lorsque nous sommes dans une ville, parce que nous sommes implantés majoritairement dans les capitales des départements, des régions, les capitales régionales plutôt. Et donc, quand on a une consultation médicale dans ces capitales régionales, nous faisons des visites à domicile dans les villes autour, dans les petits départements autour de cette capitale régionale. Et nous mettons à la disposition des personnes ayant une déficience intellectuelle qui sont dans ces villes des moyens de transport leur permettant de venir nous rejoindre au lieu de la consultation médicale. Donc, on leur offre la consultation médicale et c'est un premier point pour une implantation des activités de Special Olympics dans ces petites villes. Est-ce que j'ai répondu à la question de Fatou? Voilà, est-ce que c'est suffisant pour elle?
Touch base with him. No, not right now.
Thank you, Raja, for sharing those responses with us. I would like to still keep you on for also translation purposes. There's also a question that came from Charles Race in Tanzania asking, do you get government support during your awareness campaign to the parents?
Non, malheureusement, nous n'avons pas d'appui du gouvernement pour nos campagnes de sensibilisation, que ce soit sur la vaccination contre la COVID-19 ou pour toutes les autres campagnes. Nous n'avons pas d'appui gouvernemental.
Thank you, Raja. Highly appreciated. The next question is going to Ansela. The question is coming from Neni Chakbele from Special Olympics Togo. Neni was asking, what strategy do you use to engage international presenters?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So, I mean, there's two strategies that we've used. I mean, I think the easiest one is to reach out to the Special Olympics Africa staff. If you're requesting a speaker on a specific topic, because obviously they're in a position to reach out to programs across the world and also to Special Olympics International to access speakers that way. The other way that we have accessed international speakers is to reach out to people in our universities who would have colleagues that work internationally at other universities. So there are various ways, but I think it's really great to understand that we're part of a large Special Olympics family with a footprint in 180 countries. So that really is the best place to reach out to gain international speakers and presenters.
Thank you so much, Angela, for the responses. In terms of the health messengers, we did not receive any questions from the delegates, just an emphasis on the last slide from Saitagan that with health messengers, training is important, involve Athlete Input Council members, determine relevant roles, and provide relevant trainings. To all our panelists, thank you so much. Please check on the chat box. There's many lovely comments that have been received from colleagues, and we appreciate what you have shared.
Pleasure.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mash, for sharing these questions, and to Satyagan, Ansela, and Raja. We will be having a second round of questions to conclude our session today. So if any further questions come through for any of your presentations, we will have an opportunity to share at that point as well. But without further ado, I would like for us to take a moment to take a small break. I realize we have been together for quite some time already this morning, this afternoon, and we just want to have a short icebreaker with you just to reset ourselves. And I would like to invite our friends Crystal and Yannick to please lead us in this icebreaker meditation.
Crystal, you may be on mute.
We might be having some connection issues, so I will just jump right into our icebreaker. We will be watching a short video where Yannick is going to be leading us through a meditation exercise. And so I encourage you all to watch and listen carefully, and please join us in this exercise. Thank you.
Nous allons passer un bon moment de relaxation. Ce moment vous appartient. Rien ne peut vous empêcher de mieux vous sentir dans votre peau. Fermons doucement les yeux. Nous allons respirer tout doucement. tout doucement. On ouvre les yeux. Tout doucement. Et on vient poser la main sur les épaules. Et nous faisons le mouvement vers les coudes. Tout doucement. Tout doucement. Relâche les mains sur les épaules délicatement. Et nous venons. Rien ne peut vous empêcher de mieux vous sentir dans votre peau. Fermons doucement les
Follow
yeux.
by action. We'll follow through action.
Nous allons respirer tout doucement. On respire tout doucement. On ouvre les yeux. Tout doucement. Et on vient poser la main sur les épaules. Et nous faisons le mouvement vers les côtes. Tout doucement. Tout doucement. On relâche les mains sur les épaules délicatement. Et nous venons tout doucement poser la main vers la partie au niveau du cœur pour sentir le battement de notre cœur. À partir de maintenant, nous allons joindre nos mains vers la poitrine. Les mains bien jointes et nous allons pousser vers l'avant. Tout doucement. Nous ouvrons tout doucement les mains. Nous respirons. On relâche les mains tout doucement. Et nous les posons vers les mains, vers le cou. Les mains toujours jointes. Nous allons pousser les mains vers le haut. Nous allons libérer les mains.
Yannick tells us to raise our arms.
Libérons, nous voulons. On respire.
Move them up and down while breathing deeply.
Nous laissons, nous gérons les mains ici.
Gently lower them in front of you. Place them on your knees.
On croise les pieds.
Cross your legs.
Le pied gauche. Et nous tirons
Right over left.
la cheville. Tout doucement.
Gently flex your knee towards yourself. Softly.
On descend légèrement le pied droit et nous posons le pied gauche.
Put your foot back on the ground
Pour le même exercice.
and put your left leg over your right leg. pull it gently towards you. Softly place it back on the floor. Put your hand against your chest and softly feel the beating of your heart. Breathe deeply. Bring your hand down from your chest and place your hands on your thighs. Slowly stretch them towards your knees.
Maintenant, vous sentez mieux. Nous allons passer notre main droite sur l'épaule gauche.
Put your right hand on your left shoulder
Nous allons masser l'épaule.
and just gently massage that shoulder.
On descend la main droite.
Let that hand
Nous genou et nous passons la
drop
main
down.
gauche sur l'épaule droite. Nous faisons le
And do
même
the
exercice.
same
Rotation.
with your left hand, placing it on your right shoulder and gently massaging that shoulder.
Tous les deux mains jointes comme si
Now
c'était
bring both your hands on both your shoulders.
rotation des mains de la droite vers la gauche.
The left hand on your right shoulder, the right
De
hand
la gauche
on the left shoulder.
vers la droite. Toujours en ouvrant la bouche. Relâche.
Let them lower.
Nous allons terminer notre séance de relaxation par
We have
ici.
now finished our break of relaxation.
Dans les creux de nos mains.
Let us finish by crossing our fingers together, turning
Vers le
them towards the front of our bodies.
d'unité, d'inclusion.
We are the movement of inclusion.
Revolution Special Olympics.
Release your fingers and say thumbs up for Special Olympics. Bye-bye from Yannick.
Thank you so much, Yannick. And I don't know about everyone else, but I'm feeling so much more refreshed. Thank you. That was really wonderful. We're going to jump into our fitness segment of our session today. And I would like to introduce our next two speakers. Here with us are Rafael Niabala from ESSO Kenya, who will tell us about partnerships for fitness and the use of the Fit 5 cards, and Ibiyemi Ayeni from ESSO Nigeria, who will speak about Health Messenger's role in fitness. Rafael, over to you. Raphael, if you are on mute, you might have to manually unmute yourself on your screen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Raphael. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for everyone that is on board. And from Special Olympics Kenya, I'm going to speak in regard to partnerships that we have had during the peak of COVID-19, and this in regard to use of Fit 5 cards in disseminating information to our athletes and indeed to many, many other learners all across the country. You remember very well that in the last year, especially from the month of March, there has been upsurge of COVID-19 cases in Africa. Kenya was not exempt. And on the 15th of March, 2020, Kenya was brought under lockdown, and all the schools were closed, and which means the physical engagement in and physical activities together was equally suspended, and so all persons, including our athletes, were encouraged to continue exercising from home and keeping fit. There was at that point in time an existing partnership between Special Olympics Kenya and UNICEF Kenya, and in which we were addressing issues of continuity of learning during COVID-19. And so we reached out to the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, who was looking for content to continue broadcast in their educational TV station known as Edu TV. Contents were not there, but when we reached out, the Fit 5 card became very handy because the exercises could be contextualized into acted exercise by our staff, Special Olympics Kenya, and our athletes on a live TV broadcast. And this went on as lesson fillers in between the lessons that were being aired by the KICD, that is Kenya Institute of Curriculum Education. This contextualization was sponsored by our partner UNICEF, and it went on so well that it was aired literally every day from Monday to Friday, and reached over 1 million learners with and without intellectual disabilities. And this continued. Next slide, please. This continued throughout the season that we were at the peak in 2020, and we got also to distribute the printed cards that could reach areas that were far-flung in the country, the regions that are not able to access the digitized ones. And so we distributed quite a number, and this also was enhanced by our network of trained coaches that are in the periphery. We posted, we sent to them, others we sent online and were printed and given to the athletes and their families to keep fit during the peak of COVID-19 lockdown. And besides that, we further reached to 2,500 learners within the informal settlements within the city of Nairobi. And this was very important because at this point in time, there was no movement. And with this partnership together with UNICEF, we distributed to 2,500 learners. On top of that, we distributed some other learning materials, including textbooks and also solar systems to households that had no power. And this helped them continue learning, but fitness cards helped them continue keeping fit. And this was monitored and we received quite impressive feedback from families. They felt as if we were still together in action as it were before. And so in this, there were certain lessons that we learned through using Fit 5 cards during the pandemic. And these are the particular learning that we harvested from this exercise. Next. This one, this is just a screenshot of Special Olympics Kenya staff together with an athlete on live TV, Edu TV, that reached many other people. This is just a sample of one such exercises that were going on during the lockdown in partnership with the government Department of Curriculum Development. But I was talking of the learnings that we received. One, that leveraging on partnership can help us have a greater reach to our athletes and have greater impact. And also bringing on the athletes to be the ones taking front line in this exercise is also an inspiration to the athletes and the entire population that had chance to watch and view these particular sessions that were going on through the Edu TV. Our coaches, we got to learn that it is very important to have efficient development of coaches because they are on the ground in the grassroots and they are our ambassadors and our linkage to families and athletes in terms of reach out, even especially during lockdown. And this worked very well. And so we were able to pick some of these as the lessons that we need to keep on in continuity of learning and fitness during this pandemic that is here with us. And so besides that, we look forward to continue increasing and leveraging on partnership that we develop and we finalize in the course of the year, even in the time to come, because of their effectiveness in helping us go beyond what we have as resource at hand. So this is the story of ESO Kenya in terms of use of Fit 5 cards to reach population beyond what we anticipated. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And I will be there to respond to any question that may arise. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Raphael, for sharing those insights. Really interesting, really helpful. And thank you for offering to take any questions. We'll continue to check our Q&A box. As earlier, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to share them in the Q&A box, and we will be continuously checking over the rest of our session. And I will also note that continue to share your questions even after our session today. Ideas or questions might come up in the following day and a half that we have together. So please continue to reach out to us. We will make sure that all of the presenters receive questions that you might have. And with that, I am happy to introduce our colleague Ibiyemi, who will be speaking to us on ESO Nigeria's best practice. Welcome, Ibiyemi.
Thank you.
Sorry, Maria. Before Ibiyemi comes in, I just want to alert the delegates and everybody on the call. If you can bear with us for a few more minutes as soon to allow Ibiyemi to finish. We may run out of time. Our break is scheduled for 12:50, but it looks like at the moment we might go over a little bit. So we'll keep you posted as when our break will begin. Thank you, Ibiyemi. You may proceed.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So I'm here to speak on our best practice for our health messenger programs. So we started off with every year with our goals. It makes it easier for us to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. Next slide, please. So our goals really were to, next slide. Sorry, the one before this one. Okay, there's a slide missing. It's supposed to talk on our goals, and our goals really was to, one, train our athletes, teachers, and parents as health advocates. And then number two goal was to implement Health Messenger in various locations, schools, centers. And the third goal was to increase the athletes' capacities to take on various roles and responsibilities when putting on Special Olympics, Nigeria's health programs. So the next slide, please. With the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to be on lockdown, as everybody knows, and that restricted our programming activities. And what we did was we decided to just take a sample of our family members, 200 families, and we tried to get their feedback as to the best way in which we can reach out to them. So out of the 200 families, 43 responded saying that they have no problems accessing internet and have access to smartphones. 75 said they don't have access to data, and then the last 82 of them said they actually do not have access to smartphones and video conferencing applications. So what we did was, in order for us to meet our goals, we had to come up with creative ways in which we can meet our goals. The first goal of, next slide, sorry. The first goal of training our athletes and teachers and parents as advocates, we partnered with, next slide, with some of our athletes and our programming information. We were able to get phone numbers of various families, and from that, we're able to send out text messages. We did that weekly for the whole year. And in each text message, we were able to send out tips, fitness tips, ways in which our athletes and their family members can keep safe, and all other health information, varying topics throughout the year. And we did get feedback from our parents stating that that was an effective way in which that they were able to get information on how to remain health conscious throughout the lockdown. The second thing we did was we continued to organize Zoom training. And throughout that training, we were able to reach various athletes, parents, and volunteers. We covered various topics, health topics, and also leadership sessions as well. Our goal really was to just create advocates that will continue to champion inclusion of people with intellectual disabilities, especially when it comes to healthcare. Next slide, please. So our second goal of implementing health messenger programming, we, in partnership with our athletes, were able to pinpoint various consultants and people that we would like to feature on our social media handles and platforms. So the first thing we did through virtual education, next slide please, was that we contacted one of our family health, our family coordinators, she's Dr. Alara Roberts, and she is in charge, she actually is a public health consultant, and she came to speak to the athletes and family members during the earlier months of the confusion of COVID-19 and how to keep safe, what the virus is about, and how to prevent contracting this disease. And that was insightful for most of our family members. We also had, for example, Rosalyn Eneke, who is a fitness expert here in Nigeria, come to talk to our athletes during the lockdown on how they can keep healthy and also how they can continue to eat healthy during the lockdown. There were other virtual educative sessions that we had through the course of the year. Next slide, please. One of our programs, the Skills for Life programs, is to educate our public, that's people, our athletes and their parents on HIV and malaria and how they can prevent it. And what we did was we, in partnership with our athletes, created an online version that was easy to grab information, and we brought that live every Wednesday across all our social media platforms. It was a fun and interactive way to educate athletes and their parents about HIV and malaria and how to keep safe. Next slide, please. To reach our third goal, which is to increase athletes' capacities in attaining responsible roles during our health programming, what we did was first, we had an opportunity to participate in the virtual games. So what we did was we reached out to our athlete leaders, and they were the ones who were able to champion other athletes to get them involved and participate and compete in these virtual games. Sorry, next slide. So with that, we were able to get athletes to actually participate in the virtual games that were available last year, and one of which was the Special Olympics Washington virtual games organized. Another way in which we increased our athletes' capacities was that we kept on challenging athlete leaders to keep in touch with other athletes throughout the year. And what we did get back from them was that a lot of athletes were just out of reach because they didn't have access to smartphones. And in partnership with our athletes, we're able to look for, next slide please, various partners in that we can possibly reach out to sponsor our athletes with mobile phones, smartphones. And we did get a positive feedback from HMD, home of Nokia phones, and they provided our athletes with phones. Our athlete leaders championed the handout of those phones, so at least they knew were high functioning and capable of joining our health programs and fitness challenges and other programming virtually throughout the year. Next slide, please. So once we're able to empower some of the athletes, it's encouraged more participation in a lot of fitness activities. Our athletes were able to organize various fitness challenges throughout the year. We had athlete leaders post videos of themselves performing various fitness challenges, and then challenged other athletes to also participate in those challenges and post them on our social media. We had that throughout the year, and that continuously encouraged athletes to participate in staying healthy and fit during the lockdown. Now, we are slowly, getting back into programming, physical programming, when we're actually going into meeting up with athletes in person and their family members. But obviously, we have to adhere to various protocols. We use our temperature shotguns. We limit the number of athletes that are participating. So because of that, we still need to continue to use our virtual programming. Throughout the year, we had various challenges when it comes to COVID with the lockdown and the restriction on group gatherings, but we tried to be innovative in coming up with solutions in which we can reach all our athletes via physical meetings and SMS and virtual education. We tried to just bridge that gap, that knowledge gap that we really wanted to fill of ways in which we can promote health and fitness amongst our athletes and their family members. At the end of which, next slide, please. We were able to train 30 health messenger volunteers, 17 health messenger athletes, 24 health messenger parents. We're able to reach over 2,000 athletes and parents with educative information, health information via SMS. We're able to participate in 2 virtual games that were coordinated by athletes. And we're able to reach over 4,000 people with and without intellectual disabilities through our virtual education programming. And we still keep on finding ways in which we can be innovative and reach our goals throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibiyemi, for sharing those insights and that really great information. And if you and Raphael would be willing, we would like to take just a couple of minutes. We realize that everyone, we are over time, and we graciously ask if you could stay for a couple more minutes so that we can speak to any questions that have come in for Ibiyemi and Raphael in the Q&A box. Mesh, could you let us know if anything has come in?
Yes, there's something that has came through. There was a question from Petro Mabale Fuga Afang. Petro was asking, what is the frequency of physical activities for athletes? And I think this question goes to Raphael, and we can also provide a chance for Ibiyemi to also respond to that.
Thank you for that question. And as I'd said earlier on, for the particular one that we presented, we were working every week. There was workout every week and every day for 5 days in a week. However, it is important to continue having the physical exercise, especially 3 times in a week, depending on the context that one is in this situation. But the one that has been run throughout the season in the EduTV was running every single day from Monday to Friday every week. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. You can go ahead, BME.
Okay, so for physical programming, depending on the target audience and what the program we're trying to achieve, we typically do it once a week for a duration of time, and it's targeted at different audience. When it's depending on if it's like an education program, when it's physical, so that we don't keep repeat contact with various athletes continuously. And when it's a program for maybe like over 8 weeks, and we can break it in, have physical 1 week and have virtual 2 weeks, and then physical, we also do that as well. So it just depends on the audience and the programming we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve with that programming. That's how we decide how often we can meet physically or virtually.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Maria.
Thanks again to everyone for your presentations today, for these conversations, for these lessons that you've learned and that you've been able to impart to everyone here at our conference. And thanks to everyone for staying with us, for the really great questions. If any other questions come to mind over the rest of our time together at the conference, please feel free to let us know. You can email me or Mash. You can send it in the Q&A box and we will gladly respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria, for leading, and Mash for leading this session. We really, really appreciate it. I won't be long. I just want to say also thank you to the program representatives, Ansela, Satyaga and Raja, Yannick, Rafael, and Ebiemi. We are so appreciative that you shared your best practices and your knowledge with us. Insightful. It is the best way in programs. That's where activities happen, and we sharing this is going to to be useful to other programs that need to it's okay to copy and utilize what others have done. So thank you. So we I also want to say that we sincerely appreciate for the information session and the questions and answers and for all the delegates for staying on. As you know, Africa is the most diverse continent, and the one-size-fits-all approach cannot succeed. And as you have heard from this session, there's so much in terms of creativity that we've had in how they're utilizing the resources, human and financial and so on and so forth, and partnerships to achieve what you are achieving. It is for this reason that we applaud and encourage you all to continue being creative